Welcome to Sitting with Spirit, my loves. Please take what resonates with you and leave the rest. The first thing that I want to share today is a message about getting readings from people because it's October. This is the time of year where people are like, oh, wait, I kind of want to get a reading and it's a witchy season and all of this. I'm not going to get too into the details, but recently I had somebody give me a message that was predictive, that was not constructive or positive. And it was a really interesting experience because it gave me the ability to empathize a lot with my clients. And that being said, a good reader has discernment of how to say things, when to say things, what to say. A big part of our job is not only getting accurate information, it's protecting the subconscious peace and health of our client. It's empowering them to connect with their highest timeline. And this is just a word of caution and advice, but also empowerment when it comes to getting readings. And trust me, there are amazing readers out there. So this is not to say always have your guard up and people aren't connected. I'm not saying that at all. There's amazing, amazing readers. But there are also readers out there who jump into the professional space maybe before they're fully developed or ready or things like that. And from that conscious awareness, a lot of their messages are actually not from spirit, not from your angels, not from your guides. A lot of their messages are misunderstandings and projections. And then you can take that and become superstitious. And I mean, I see people come into my readings and they have horror stories. Like this one lady was like, a psychic told me that I would be single and alone at 50. And it's like, first of all, who does that serve? Who does that serve, that message? That's certainly not how spirit speaks. That's not how angels speak. Who does that serve? It's not constructive and it's not based in love. So who does that serve? And so when you get a message from a reader in a reading that brings up a lot of fear and scarcity consciousness and superstition, I really urge you to not take that on because, like I was saying, this is the time period where people are getting more readings. And I want you to remember that when it's from spirit, your angels and guides and spirit, the message will make you feel lighter. The message will empower you. The message will give you constructive steps. It's not just predictive for the sake of being predictive. It's not disempowering, and it's not going to create fear. Fear is the inverse frequency to your angels and guides. Your angels and guides advice is here to lift the weight off, not pile weights on. And I was in a situation where I got a message from somebody. This is also why I don't really resonate with predictive work very much because it's just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? And it was basically just predicting something negative in my life. And it really bothered me. And I told the person right away, I said, I don't think this is constructive or helpful or a good way to sort of conduct this. And she understood and it was fine. And we had a conversation. But it just made me realize that if you're not a reader yourself, there's a lot more room for superstition to come in and fear to come in when you get a message that is fear-based. And to explain it from a reader's point of view, sometimes we can feel things like, oh, I feel tension, I feel heaviness, I feel sadness. But then a reader who isn't fully developed will then interpret that feeling with their mind and give a message based on that interpretation instead of actually what your angels and guides are saying. So it's like, oh, I'm feeling some, for example, tension. I feel a tense relationship. But instead of saying, oh, that tense relationship is actually with your mom and they're bringing that up for healing, they're not getting that part. And they're like, I predict that you are going to break up with your boyfriend because I'm feeling a tense relationship. And that actually is not what spirit is saying. That's not the message. And so sometimes that can happen where it's a misinterpretation of what the message was supposed to be, or a misinterpretation of what they saw, heard, felt, or a projection. And so just, again, run everything through. Is it lightening the load? Is it solution oriented and is it based in love? Because that is the criteria for a true message from spirit. They're not going to rub your face in something that you know isn't going to work or isn't working already or is difficult already. There's no point in just bringing that up. What is the message? What's the solution? How are we moving the ball forward? How do we feel more powerful? A monarch butterfly just flew by me right as I said that. So yeah, let spirit leave you lighter. And if you weren't left lighter, that's not a message from spirit. That's just more human density, projection, and a need for that reader to maybe have a little bit more training so that they know how to either give the full message or trust what they fully get without letting their mind come in and interpreting it and saying things that could potentially be really harmful for your subconscious health. And with this message, I first of all don't want to say that any reader is 100% accurate all the time, including myself. Everybody can misinterpret things or get in their head or things like that. But with that being said, if you're holding yourself to a professional level, you can sort of recognize, okay, I can feel my mind coming in. I'm not 100% certain about this. And you'll communicate it in a way that empowers the client. So in no way with this message am I saying I'm perfect and look out for other readers. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is watch who you give your power to. It's important for a reader to protect your subconscious health. And it's not about even the messages being right or wrong. It's about the discernment of, is this coming from ego or service? And am I protecting the subconscious health of my sitter? So I just wanted to add that in as well. So as I was saying, as I was feeling into our angels and guides, I actually had an archangel presence come through, and that doesn't always happen to me. Sometimes it happens in readings, especially if people have religious backgrounds and they grew up with the archangels, they'll pop in. Archangel Michael is definitely a popular one. But when I was tuning in, I saw a ring of emerald green light, and Archangel Raphael came in. And I have like chills as I'm talking about this. And I basically was given this ring of emerald light as a visual to meditate with, to call in Archangel Raphael to meditate on this ring of healing green light. And green is associated with the heart chakra, and Archangel Raphael is the archangel of healing, mind, body, soul. And so I feel like this is a time where we might be able to use some healing, some grounding energy, some love, and some just soothing. And so automatically when I saw this ring of emerald light, I felt calm. I felt grounded. I was able to release some of the tension that came up from the messages that I didn't resonate with today that I received. And it was just such a reset. And that's the feeling I get. It's like, this ring of emerald light is here for just a nervous system reset, a healing energy, support. It's like take all of the anxious energy off of your heart and just throw it into that ring. Just throw it into that ring and give it to your angels and guides and let them handle it. And as I was getting that visual, I saw a pathway. And I've had this visual before of this pathway where there's only the part that we are currently on lit up. It's like, don't focus on the past. Don't look too far into the future because that's not in our control. This path, this part of the path that we're on is the point of life. Like where we are here and now is the point. The journey is the point. And it feels really important to just continue to trust your vision, your faith, your heart, and to do the best you can with exactly where you are on the part of your pathway. Not what you hope will happen, not an attachment to outcome, not a comparison to where other people are. How can you do the best with where you are just right now? Because that is the formula that when you continue to show up in the best possible way in the here and now, that creates the highest possible timeline on the macro scale. And I saw such a cool image, and it was the third eye symbol, but the pupil was a snake, like wrapping around. And it gave me this feeling that the third eye messages are so tied to our transformation. Snake is a very transformative animal guide. It's all about shedding outdated skins. It's all about healing the witch wound. It's all about connecting back to our most powerful self. It's all about boundaries and respect. And it's really a divine feminine energy. And this evolution of consciousness. And so I feel like there are such deep third eye, and I don't even want to say visions, I want to say knowings. I feel like deep down, we really freaking know, and we have to trust that. And I always say, trust your knowing the first time. Don't wait for a million times that you have to be shown that you're true. Trust it the first time. And you have to be able to trust yourself first and foremost, to trust your angels and your guides. As I always say, intuition is the sum of all the times we've trusted ourselves. So trust that knowing, and that snake kind of raveling around the third eye as the pupil, or is it the iris? The round part was such a cool image. I did have a past loved one in spirit come through. And before I say that, I just want to say I do feel collectively there's lots of crossroads, there's lots of changes, there's lots of up levels. And, the energy just, it has been a lot. It has been a lot. And so continue to visualize that ring of green light. And it's so interesting to me with the third eye, the snake, and the ring of emerald light. It's like that circle just keeps coming up, that circle, that cycle. And so I feel like there's something with that circle too. It's like we're doing that spiral dance. We're going around and around. We're going deeper. And sometimes life isn't linear. Sometimes it has to be cyclical and circular, and that's okay. And to trust the timing with that, and to do the best that you can with exactly where you're at. So I want to give a little bit of a trigger warning before this past loved one message, because, this is sensitive stuff. And if you're in grief right now, or you have somebody in a hospice situation, or somebody who is on life support, I just want to give a trigger warning for this. So I did have a male past loved one in spirit. And immediately as he was starting to come through, my head started feeling heavy. My head started hurting. My neck started hurting. My body started feeling heavy. And I got this really interesting sensation of the physical body kind of being dead, for lack of a better word, and him being in his physical body, but not able to move his body. So I feel like this would be something like a coma or paralysis, something where he was like in a hospital bed, and I feel like he needed life support. I feel like his body couldn't survive on its own. And I feel like his family struggled with pulling the plug. And I know that this is not an uncommon situation, that a lot of families have this situation. And I felt like this guy, when he was like here on earth, was light and happy and had so much love, and that his family adored him. But that as he was stuck in his physical body that was no longer working, it was just this feeling of like, I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to transition. And he was already halfway out the door. And I see him with his mom in spirit, who was there to help him transition to the other side. And so I also saw a connection to music with him, with drums, with music. I felt like there was a tie there with him. And I feel like I wasn't quite sure on this, but for sure he had one son and one daughter, but I felt like there might have been a third child as well. And I saw just everyone in the family gathered around his bed and not knowing if they could hear him, and having such a hard time and feeling guilty and not knowing what to do. And there's so much emotion around this as I talk about it. And there's so much love for him and from him to you. But the message that I got is that it's okay to pull the plug. And that is a message that I feel a lot of people need to hear. And it's truly all love. Once you're in a place in your physical body where you need life support to continue on, your past loved ones are already halfway out the door. And it truly is life in a sick body that is much more scary than rejoining the spirit world. And so there's something here about, I was with you the whole time. I love you. I don't feel any type of resentment or anything about staying on life support longer than I should have. It's all love. But I want you to know that I'm okay, and it's okay to let me go, because you're not really letting me go. You're letting my physical body go. My spirit will always live on, and I will continue to communicate with you in a new way, in a new language. And so I feel like he's really emphasizing his kids, and his kids being his world, and his wife being his world. And I just get the feeling here that his message overall is meant to be comforting, meant to say, like, truly, there's nothing to be afraid of with that release. It's okay. And that at that point, it's more about the family letting go than the person letting go because the person is already ready to transition and they already have so many people around them. And so that's kind of a simple message. I know it's a bit of a heavy one this week, but it also is good to know that as we're struggling with that decision and as that feels so heavy and difficult, that it's really the life density here on earth that is the quote unquote scary part, and a return home to spirit is the easy part. And it's really about our grief and how hard it is to let go. But that dad in spirit is good. He is with his people. And it's not like as they transition, it's like a scary thing. Like, did they make it or did they not? Like, they're always going to make it back to the spirit world. They go right back to spirit. And I feel like there's nothing dogmatic or scary about that. It's all love, it's all support. And every single person has somebody in spirit for them on the other side, even if they can't remember them in this lifetime. So that's the message there. I know it's a bit heavy. I feel like with Archangel Raphael coming through and that ring of emerald light, there is a big emphasis this week on healing, on release, on trusting your intuition, on healing mind, body, soul, and really just giving any anxiety or worry or fear or grief. Give it to your angels for them to hold so that you can see a little more clearly. And that's the feeling I got when I visualized that ring of emerald light, was this feeling of a little bit of overwhelm, a little bit of overthinking, a little bit of heaviness, but then it brought me back to the still waters underneath that, sort of how the ocean, all the choppiness is on the surface. And when a big wave is coming, you just have to dive deep enough and the waters are still. And I feel like that's what that ring of emerald light is helping us do, to come to the still part of the waters where we can get more clarity. Because from the choppy waters, it's really hard to get messages. It's really hard to trust our intuition, and it's really hard to connect with our angels and guides. And that's where the mind wants to come in and interpret things and attach to things and tell stories about things. So come back down to the deeper waters. Your angels and guides are here to help you do that. This visualization technique is here to help you do that. And from that place, you'll have a lot more certainty and knowing of exactly what you need to do and how to move forward. And then just keep focusing on doing the best you can with your current circumstances. The rest of the answers will come. The rest of the answers to the book that you're writing will come. But right now, you're fully exploring this chapter, and just enjoy exactly where you are here and now, because every chapter has its own gifts. So those are the messages for this week. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week, my loves. And just know how loved you are, and just know how much support you have from your angels and guides. They are always, always, always with you. So much, much love, and see you next week.